Okay, guys, we need to figure out how we're going to do our logical fallacy project.
Well, first we need to pick out why this project is important.
That's obvious. We need to be able to recognize and understand logical fallacies so that we're not tricked when other people use them. Also, by learning about them, we can avoid them when we're arguing something. That'll help strengthen our arguments.
Yeah, we don't want to be ignorant internet commenters that don't know anything about what they're talking about.
I hate those people who are super negative in the comments sections for the sake of causing trouble. They always use the dumbest reasoning to make their arguments.
Exactly. By learning to identify these logical fallacies, we can point them out in those comment sections and fight back, even if those commenters don't know they're using them.
Okay, so now that Kevin has found a cause to fight for, what should our first fallacy be?
How about we do the tu quoque fallacy?
What's the tu quoque fallacy?
Well, it's when you fight someone's position based on the fact that he or she doesn't practice what they preach.
Yeah, but it's not like how North Korea called the United States a human rights graveyard a while back over Ferguson. Even though they're calling the United States a hypocrite, that shouldn't be judging others. They weren't arguing that it's okay to violate human rights.
I remember seeing examples of this on Twitter. Those parody meniness accounts were complaining about double standards with girls being allowed to want tall guys, but guys not being allowed to want tall girls.
Oh, I've got an idea for a skill we can use to explain this fallacy to other people.
Come on, don't litter, fam.
Then, Jonah goes after Kevin and says, "Hey, you can't tell me this is wrong. It's wrong to litter. You just littered everywhere. It must be okay then." You know, this fallacy could be beneficial to someone when they need to find a way to discredit their opponent in a debate.
Oh,
In a debate, pointing out hypocrisy using tu quoque is powerful. Given how public opinion works, even though the politician may defend himself, the thought will stay in the viewer's minds.
Right. If two politicians are arguing about cigarette use, pointing out that an opponent smokes or uses tobacco is irrelevant to the argument, but can significantly discredit the politician.
Don't you think that skit is kind of short?
No, these are going to be YouTube videos. We shouldn't add lines for the sake of adding lines. We should be as brief as we can while teaching the fallacy effectively. We don't want to lose viewers.
Alright then. For the second one, I think we should do the bandwagon fallacy.
What's the bandwagon fallacy?
Well, the bandwagon fallacy is whenever someone argues for an idea based on how popular it is.
But it's not just copying someone else. It's just agreeing with the popular choice, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like when everyone gets the new Nike shoes every year just because they're popular. I really hate Nike. I don't know how everyone likes them.
Yeah, that's when the fallacy can be really beneficial to companies. The more people who hop on the bandwagon, the more money they make.
I know how we can teach this. Here's my idea.
Yo, Jonah, you should download this new song. It's called Friday by Rebecca Black. It's so good.
No, I've heard that song. I don't really like it.
How do you not like it? It has 75 million views on YouTube. It's gotta be a great song.
So basically, Ezra argues on behalf of the song because its popularity on YouTube must mean it's good, even though we know it's awful.
Could this fallacy be beneficial?
Well, it could be. Corporations use their popular brand all the time to push their product forward. For example, Nike could be relying on the bandwagon fallacy where people are buying Nike shoes because they're so popular, even though they might not know the actual details of the shoe.
And we use the bandwagon fallacy all the time. Whenever we see other people doing something, we want to do it as well. It's part of our human nature. Like that Flappy Bird game. It's so mind-numbingly repetitive. There are definitely better games out there. The creator is making all that money just because of bandwagoning.
So what should our next fallacy be?
How about moral equivalence? That one is where you compare one bad thing and one really bad thing, and you say the not so bad thing isn't as big of a deal because it's not as bad as the really bad thing.
What?
So it's like when someone robs a store, they don't think it's that bad because at least they didn't kill someone. It's not when two bad things happen at the same time, it's when two different things happen and they're compared.
Oh, I get it. But moral equivalence fallacy isn't just used to make bad actions seem less bad. It might be used by an arrogant person to make something he or she did that is good seem even better. If an arrogant millionaire donated $1 million to a charity and an average person only donated 100, both are great deeds. But the arrogant millionaire would tell everyone that he is so much greater because of his $1 million versus the average person's 100.
Still, neither case is really good.
I have an idea for this. See if we can do this. It's gonna be really funny.
Books. Oh, what are you doing? What did I do?
Hey, man, why do you do that? That's not cool. Back off.
Hey, take it easy, man. Now, I'm a terrorist. The point is that I can't argue that bullying Jonah is doing something wrong just because someone else does something worse. I'm acting like I'm in the clear because there are worse things happening in the world.
But what makes it different than two Quoque?
It's different because two Quoque is about how doing the same action invalidates an argument, which is hypocrisy. Moral equivalence is about comparing an action to something else, to something different. Okay, well, we're good with that. Time for number 4. I want to do the sweeping generalization fallacy.
Alright, what's that?
Well, it's when a broad generalization is applied to a narrow topic, which can create assumptions.
So what would be an example of that?
Well, it's like a stereotype. So an example would be saying that because all BHH kids are rich, the 3 of us are also automatically rich.
Could it be like a racist comment?
Yes, but not always. A lot of people think that's the only example, but it can really apply to many different ideas.
Is there a way this kind of stereotyping can be beneficial?
In some ways, yes. For example, using the Asians are smart stereotype, a job interview could turn in the interviewee's favor if they are Asian, giving off positive connotations.
Obviously, it can work negatively as well. Where, for example, someone qualified or overqualified for a job position is denied just because they're female.
In a way, this applies to the real world. Women have noticeably less pay than men, so many employers fall to the sweeping generalization fallacy, and it's something that should be changed in society.
Right. I think I've got an example for what a Skeptic could do.
This math problem is really hard. Kevin, you're Asian, so you gotta be smart. Come help me with this.
I can help you with this.
Any luck, Kevin?
Eureka! 2 plus 2 equals fish.
What?
I know it's kind of a racist example, but Kevin clearly isn't stupid, and it shows how something believed to be true for a group isn't necessarily true for all the things that it covers.
I see the sweeping generalization thing being applied all the time. Whenever it's obvious someone is using this, or their argument is immediately discredited.
Alright, almost done. Let's do the false dilemma policy.
Oh, this one is annoying. It's when a person tricks someone else by only providing a couple of choices to answer a question when there are actually many more options.
I've got an idea for a skill already.
Yo, Kevin, I'm thirsty. I'm ready to drink. Do you want something?
Sure.
There's only one bottle of juice left. Kevin, do you want milk or water?
Water.
Alright.
Thanks.
We've got to be careful on how we word this one. If Kevin were to ask if there was anything else to drink and then I said no, it would just become lying. The point of the fallacy is that you are not lying, just avoiding options from being discussed.
This fallacy is clearly beneficial to Ezra in the skit, but for people like politicians, it can be very risky. In a debate, one candidate could use this fallacy, but then the opponent could point out the other unsaid options and make the first politician look dumb.
Real-life situations where a city is debating on the topic of noise regulation. It assumes that bars in the city must be completely shut down in order to comply with the regulation, but does not mention that the bar could simply lower its noise or install soundproof architecture.
Okay, I think that's it for planning then. Let's go film.
1 hour later, 2 hours later, 3 hours later.
Can you move it along? I'm all out of time cards.
Hey guys, now that we've finished filming, I definitely think that some of these logical fallacies are worse than others.
Yeah, in my opinion, the sweeping generalization fallacy is the worst of these 5 because it can create many stereotypes that lead to people thinking negatively about certain groups of people.
Yeah, I agree. If anything, just because it affects the most people. These stereotypes are extremely prevalent in society today, especially among people our age. Kevin, what do you think the next worst fallacy is?
Probably the false dilemma fallacy because it can be used to trick people. And if the situation was serious enough, it could have some serious consequences.
Actually, I disagree. I think that the moral equivalence fallacy is the next worst one, mainly because it exemplifies how the people who use it can be generally stupid.
Well, sorry Kevin, but I agree with Jonah here. When people argue that what they do is not as bad as what other people are doing, they are just being ignorant. You shouldn't compare yourself to other people, just worry about yourself. If you do something bad, you should always own up to it, not point fingers at other people.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. So after moral equivalence, the false dilemma fallacy must be the worst fallacy, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like you said before, if politicians leave out half of the argument and create a false dilemma fallacy, they're setting themselves up for being called out by their opponent.
If their opponent is smart, that is. Yeah, so I think we can all agree that these three are the worst of the fallacies we discussed today.
Yep.